National Convention to formally accept the presidential nomination. But last night belonged to his running mate, Kamala Harris. And a Biden-Harris win in November would have implications for the economy and the markets. Joining us now, ahead of that, is Libby Cantrell, head of U.S. public policy at PIMCO. Libby, I don't know, there's a way in probabilities where you're able to figure out all the different permutations of what could happen. We can't do that, whether it's just the White House, just the Senate, just the, both, either. What's the most likely and what does it mean?
Yeah, well, good morning. I think you're absolutely right. Everyone was humbled in 2016 when people were pounding the table about one election outcome that obviously never materialized. So I think with some humility, you sort of can prognosticate some of the most possible election scenarios. And in our minds, they're basically two. One would be a Democratic sweep, and the other would be more of a status quo election, Donald Trump in the White House and divided Congress like we have now. Importantly, though, Joe, if there's a Democratic sweep, that clearly would have market implications. I think it's very important, though, to remember that if that were the case, we're still looking at a very narrowly divided Senate. So even if Democrats take back the majority in the Senate, they'll be very far away from that filibuster-proof majority, meaning that they'll still have to work across the aisle on most pieces of legislation. So this, even though I think the market would have one reaction if that were the outcome, I think that the sort of the nuance and the subtlety here is that it will still be, again, a narrowly divided Senate, and that will likely be a moderating force in terms of what a Democratic White House can get through.
I would be loath myself to make any predictions about the reaction of the stock market, even if it was a clean sweep. I think of policies, and I think the knee-jerk would be that this is not great for corporate taxation, which I think helps. It's not great for regulation, not great for a lot of things. But I still can't. Oh, something flying around. I still can't, with any degree of just absolute certainty, say that would mean a stock market sell-off. Can you?
No, I think that's exactly right. I mean, for the sectors that are more sensitive to corporate taxes, there will likely be some pressure in those sectors. I do think we would anticipate that corporate taxes would go up. Of course, former Vice President Joe Biden has put out a 28% corporate tax rate. I think, again, after all these sort of machinations in Congress, that likely is going to be lower, more kind of 24, 25%. But I think your point is exactly right. So there will be some sectors that will likely face some weakness. But from a macro perspective, I think it's difficult to sort of draw any resolute conclusions, because at the same time that you are going to likely get some more regulation, maybe higher taxes at the margin, there will also likely be a lot of fiscal stimulus. We know from Democrats in Congress, we know from former Vice President Biden that they want a big infrastructure bill, a big jobs bill, a big climate bill. And if that can get through the Congress, which is, of course, an if, that likely could help to provide a tailwind to economic growth. So long way of saying I absolutely think it's mixed, and it's difficult to project the election outcome. It's even more difficult to project how the market would react.